Good morning, Ascend Now team and board of directors. Today, we would like to introduce you all to the social enterprise we've been working on for the last few weeks, Belajar Bear.
Our business is the culmination of hours of discussion and planning between the five of us. And our motto is empowerment through education. So first, I'd like to introduce my teammates, Ariana, Isabel, Marouge, Flor, who will be joining us from home, and myself, Kirina.
As for our problem, we will mainly focus on the UN SDG of quality education for all. As students going through high school ourselves, we are privileged enough to receive education that others might not. For the SDG of gender inequality, we chose it because we have all experienced firsthand how gender inequality can impact students and young people in school. Finally, education can be an essential tool to escaping poverty and building a better future for any young child. What we aim to do is help impoverished youth and young girls who may not be able to have the same opportunities that we have.
According to the UNESCO Institute of Statistics, 258 million children were out of school, which includes children within our own country. According to the MOE database, a survey done in 2015 showed that 1 in 6 children aren't attending primary school, whilst 1 in 10 aren't attending lower secondary school.
The reasons for these kids being out of school range from a multitude of issues. However, the most cited reason in Malaysia is because of financial issues. As the figure shows, more than 1 in 3 children aren't attending school because of financial reasons.
Now that the issues we're tackling are clearly defined, we'll explain the products and services that our organization, Belajar Bear, will be providing. Our main solution to the education issue is a connection website that we plan to set up so that qualified volunteers can be sent to areas with a lack of education centers. We're also planning to create a book that will help raise awareness about the issues these children are facing. With our business, young people willing to volunteer to tutor younger children on basic level subjects could give them a leg up in areas where their education is lacking.
As for our main beneficiaries, there are primary age children from rural and underdeveloped areas of Malaysia who don't have access to sufficient education. According to UNESCO, these are mainly non-citizens, refugees, and indigenous people. For our book, our target customer is people of all ages. And for our volunteering website, we are planning to have international school students aged 15 and up, as they must be able to speak English and teach basic STEM subjects.
Here we have the intended timeline for our business. Since our business is split into 2 parts, this is how we will maneuver the process. First, we create an Instagram account to market our business. Next, we will start the process of making our book about underprivileged children's stories. The second part of our enterprise is the connection service. This is where we will connect volunteers with children in rural areas to help them with subjects such as English, basic STEM, and digital literacy.
For raising initial funds, we have 2 ideas. The first one is a non-uniform day, where secondary students will be allowed to dress up as any book character and donate 5 ringgit if they dress up. Our second idea is a flea market where we set up stalls for people to bring in their old books and other items that they want to sell. And we will charge people for ticket prices and collect rent from people who set up stalls to sell something.
For the first aspect of our business, we'll be publishing a book that tells the real life stories of the children we'll be helping. This book will help raise awareness on our issue, as well as generating revenue to give back to these children for their education and to fund our connection website. We're planning to get into contact with bookstores such as Book Access to help us reach our goals.
As for our website, we will aim to be a funnel of sorts to connect any individuals who want to volunteer to help the less fortunate. This will be open to any students who are looking to boost their CV, students completing their Duke of Edinburgh service, or anyone looking to help out.
Sorry. Our allies have a similar vision with us. Our allies that share a similar vision with us are other social enterprises, charities, schools, and education services. Although our mission to help children get better education is similar, our approach is unique and has a competitive advantage of sorts. The first one is that it's beneficial to more than one group of people. Our service will mostly benefit the children in need, since that is our main goal. With our help, they'll be able to pursue better education and make a better life for themselves. On the other hand, the volunteers themselves will be able to benefit from tutoring these children, as mentioned before. And the second competitive advantage is that we have a specific target audience. Although connection services for volunteering and donations exist, none are targeted specifically towards connecting international schools and their students looking for volunteering work.
Thank you. Now we'll be answering any of your questions.
Yeah.
Thank you. Debbie, go for it.
Thank you, guys. I love this idea. I think it's so necessary. I think it's a very interesting target group that you're thinking about for kids. One immediate idea that I have is, as you guys may or may not know, in the IB program there is this thing called CAS, which is mandatory community service. So it
Yeah.
would be really interesting for you guys to partner with CAS or IB schools, because every grade 11 and 12 has to do X amount of hours for service. And actually, it's really funny because I'm working with a student right now in Singapore, and he's doing something very similar, which is service providers and service requesters, like an app to match them. So I really think you guys, I would love to connect you to him. He's trying to do this in Singapore, so maybe there can be some synergies. I have just a very basic question, which is, how did you guys come up with this idea? What was the inspiration behind it?
Inspiration, we're very privileged kids. We understand that. And we know it's in order to advance in our world right now is through education. And we know that in rural schools, they don't have quality education. So when we researched the topic, we found out that the problem is bigger than we initially thought. So we're like, okay, you know what? We have to do something. We can't wait for adults to do it. We have to do it. So we came up with this business plan.
Yeah, we want to be able to give other kids the same opportunities we have for a successful future.
Yeah,
I love it. I'll pop my email in the chat, and I'll connect you to the student I was mentioning.
Thank you. Any more questions?
I'm okay. I think it's a great model. I mean, we were doing this for the refugee kids here in Malaysia as well, training them in an English skill. So I think I know there is that major issue, and education is the only way to sort of bring somebody from a very low level in society and give them the opportunity to go up. So I'm fully supportive of this. But I mean, I don't have a question. It's just that I'm encouraging you guys to go ahead and do it.
Thank you.
I do have a comment and maybe a question. I give you credit for trying to tackle such a big problem. And to be honest, I didn't know the number until you actually popped it up on the screen. So that was an eye-opener for me. So I give you a lot of credit for that. Maybe just a question would be, I don't know if there's a real answer to this, would be, do you anticipate any opposition from what you're trying to achieve? Or in terms of where, a lot of the kids may not have access to it, but will they even have the ability to dedicate the time or to read, to understand in terms of making this happen?
We actually thought about that. We know that there are other issues. These kids are not getting quality education, such as basic things like they don't have food or
Electricity or water. They don't have basic school facilities. And usually in these rural areas, there's only one teacher teaching multiple different grades. So none of the students get like individual focus.
So with that, we are planning with our service, whatever profits we make, we're going to better the school facilities in order to make sure there's no opposition, and not only the kids could benefit, but their parents too.
No, I mean, it's definitely a big task. I mean, it's not like a one-time thing, obviously. It's something that's going to be like an ongoing process. So that's what I'm trying to kind of like run through my mind. Like, how long would a student be involved in this program? Would it be like 6 months, a year? I mean, how do you, in terms of you having the volunteers or enough funds to make this program last? So there's something to think about. I don't think there's a real answer yet, so.
Okay.
Fantastic, thank you. I have one question, but just before we do that, Pavan, please pop the poll up. Judges, score sheets if you'd like. But I'd like to ask you folks, what do you think your reach can be in terms of getting out there, and how many young learners are you going to be able to affect positively?
Positively, we know that if we get around 90 to 80% of volunteers from our school, like she said about the hours that are needed, we have something similar here. We're planning to reach maybe 5,000 kids if we can, because we have a lot of volunteers within this.
Plus, we'll connect with other schools who need help with like connecting with volunteers, because some smaller international schools don't have the resources. So we'll kind of be like the middleman to help set everything up. and then we'll have more volunteers that
We'll
way.
do the hard work and then they get the future.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Good idea. And I look forward to seeing how that actually plays out because, well, I'd love to see the book. I'll buy the book first up if you guys get that out. Anyways, cheers and looking forward to seeing what you guys can do. Now, let's get team 4 on and see what we can do with our last group here. All right. Looking forward to seeing how you can close the day off today. Again, looking at a sustainable business model is what they're looking here as well. So looking forward to seeing what they can do with that. I think that last one hit home with it for a lot of us. I mean, Adam, Debbie, you're obviously involved in education as well. So it's definitely something that we all think about on a very regular basis, I reckon. And I know that Debbie in particular has a penchant for helping out young female learners at least. That's one of her favorite things. Team 4, are you ready?